Welcome back to the Entrepreneur's Journey podcast. I'm your host, Peter Santry, a former Wall Street exec turned executive leadership team coach. On this show, I talk with accomplished entrepreneurs and executives how to build strong, scalable companies and bringing experts to share practical insights on key functions every business depends on. Today, I'm joined by Candice Burney, Chief Operating Officer at Raystone Incorporated, a real estate investment and management company that owns and operates multifamily housing, senior living communities, and commercial properties across California and the Southwest. Today, we'll talk about what happens when a founder realizes that the business has either outgrown his ability or his desire to manage it alone and makes the critical decision to hire a COO. And Candice shares how she stepped into that role, how the responsibilities were divided, and how her background in organizational psychology helped her guide a multi-generational company forward. So welcome to the show, Candice.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good. Well, let's dive right in.
Okay.
I know that I guess you're about 3 years into your COO role, and it was a position created, and Todd Stone, who was, I guess, the son of the founder, realized that the company was getting large. He wanted to bring in some managerial strength, and he decided to create the role, and you got it. And so I'm wondering if you can tell the audience about your background a little bit and how you became the COO and what Todd Stone was looking for as he sought somebody for that role.
Yeah, sure. So my background started in the property management real estate industry when I was 20. So the benefits, I've worked every position that you can think of, which has given me a well-rounded perspective in the industry. 2019, I got my doctorates in IO psychology, so that gave me a deeper perspective in the human behavior and how humans kind of transition into the success of an organization. With my COO role, I think what this company was looking for specifically was someone to come in and help with the operations and also allowing Todd to step back a little bit and have more personal time to himself. And so now he doesn't work anymore on Fridays, uh, just here Monday through Thursday. And so I've kind of taken over much of the operation aspect of the company.
Okay, so I'm just imagining, and there's no two COOs that are the same because you really have to complement what the founder needs. And so, how did you, when you came into the role, what did he say? What did he say that he had a role that he had for himself and he wanted you to do the rest, or how did you divide the responsibilities? I'm curious about that because a lot of companies go through this.
They do, and I was my own ball of stress before, interviewing. I read books on how to be a COO and how I could be really good at it. I spoke to a lot of prior executives that I worked with in past companies who were generous enough to give me 10 or 15 minutes of their time. And and really what I learned is it is a compliment to the CEO, right? And so there isn't a blueprint of how to be the perfect COO. It's you're coming in, you're doing your own needs analysis, and you're complementing what they need. And so through conversations, he's focused more on the acquisitions and the loans and that aspect of the business. And I am more the people and the operations part of the business. And it's worked really well for us.
Right. And then you mentioned a moment ago that you have this doctorate in industrial organization, and obviously that, when he saw that, I'm sure he said, you can run the operations, and that is what he was giving up to you because he really wanted to focus on the investments and the finances, like you said. And I know you've done a lot of work around leadership. So how did that inform or prepare you for the role? And curious to know how you lead with that background.
Yeah, I think with the degree, I'm able to lead better with emotional intelligence. I can, use, less bias and help, understand the complexities that the employees are dealing with, communication styles, nonverbal communications. And I'm able to see these things on a deeper level because of the background that I have, the culture, the change management. We've gone through succession planning. And so just helping them align what they do to the success of the business and helping them understand that gets them more engaged uh, and happy with the success of the company because they feel a part of it.
Right. So just, and sort of that empathy allows you to allow them to weigh in and buy in and sort of get behind the strategy and own a piece of it. And so it allows you to go ahead and have a more unified and aligned team. And that's a big part of what's going on. You can't just be authoritarian anymore. You need to have people become part of the answer, right?
It is. I mean, that psychological safety is a big part of it. If you're sitting at a group with your team and you're noticing that some people don't feel safe to provide their opinion, there's an underlying issue there. And so you want people to be able to raise their hand and share their thoughts. And that's really how you grow, um, especially from the people who do the work on a day-to-day basis. You want them to raise their hand and speak up and share their thoughts, because chances are they're gonna think of the solution before you or help you get there because they're in it every day.
Right, right, exactly. So there's lots to talk about in the real estate space. Obviously, post the pandemic, some parts of real estate have suffered, others have gone really well. There's demographics. You've got kind of an eclectic mix. You've got your fingers in a lot of areas, from independent living to multifamily and then retail. Um, and obviously, you're located around where you are, Sacramento, and into Texas in the Southwest. So, what made you, or is this a deliberate choice that you've made in terms of how the company came to this asset mix?
I mean, it started with Ray. So he was military. He bought his first property in the 50s. It was like a piece of land. And then he built one of our retail centers in 69, Almond Orchard. We still have it.
Mhm.
One of our best commercial retail properties that we have. And just open to good opportunities. And we're still that way today. And so while we have independent senior living, we have two HUD senior properties, multifamily, commercial, that diversified portfolio helps us to stay afloat. If you take, commercial office buildings, post COVID, when it was everyone went remote, I think office space tanked like 90%. Uh, because of the diversity, we're okay, so sucks for the office buildings, but we still have a lot of other diverse portfolio that we're managing, and so we're fine. So we got to strategize better. What do we do with that office space? And it's come back. Maybe we're like 70%. Um, but that's just an example of how having a diversified portfolio can be helpful.
Right. Right. And certainly it is starting to come back, and the work from home is, a lot of people are pushing people back in. So I'm curious about the independent living, because it really is tailored towards the seniors. It's not, it's on sort of in the transition continuum from, you know, 70s to maybe higher levels of care, but you've got that downsize move and independent living. Tell us about that market, because I'm curious. The demographics seem to be very positive there. Are you seeing a lot of tailwinds there?
Ebbs and flows. Location is important. So, some of our locations are thriving. Occupancy is high again. Again, post-COVID, you had some family members move in with family. And so, there was a dip in occupancy, growing, stable again now. Um, but a lot of family members like to stay close to where they're moving out of, right? And so, we have a property out in Reading, and so that's unless you're from Reading, who wants to be in Reading? It's a great property. Um, fantastic property, fantastic staff. And so, if you get someone in the door, it's a no-brainer. It's amazing. Um, but you have to want to be and ready, right? And then you have, what are the outliers that you can't control? Well, medical and ready, it's picking up, it's getting better. But you have to think about those issues too, like what is available around them, grocery stores, shopping, a little bit different than what they're used to. And when you're working with someone going into independent senior living, it could be 3 years. You could be talking to them for years before they make that choice and that adjustment. So, as a company, we have to make sure that we're providing something that's safe and fun, um, keeping track of what's going on economically. Food prices are going up, and so we have to account for that.
Mhm.
Taxes, insurance, my gosh, insurance, just especially in California, all of those uncontrollables.
Yes, but it's so necessary, and the socialization aspects are a big aspect of driving it too, because people generally go from an independent home where it might be hard to socialize or not as easy as it used to be, and a lot of people move away, and it just becomes more difficult. And I would think, well done. That's going to be a great market for you guys to be in. Um, so where do you go from here? You have an asset mix, office coming back, retail's coming back. What's the vision, Candice, going forward for the company and for you specifically?
So strengthening the portfolio, strengthening the bench of employees. So, and when I say portfolio, we look at it as a whole. So, yes, we have our what you would say maybe three independent departments, but if there's an underperforming senior property, maybe we exchange that for a great grocery store somewhere. So it doesn't have to be, apples to apples, but just improving the portfolio, keeping it generating income for us. And then with the people, just helping them grow. So we've had a lot of employees coming up for retirement. We're succession planning, keeping our bench strong, and just continuing to help them grow in all the ways that they can, and myself. So I continue to grow and learn in this business in all the ways. And so for me, that's where I'm at. I'm growing every day, just like all of them.
Right. And then in terms of expansion, is your asset mix where you want it to be in geographically and things like that?
Yeah, and I think we're even open to, we've talked about like storage units or even, just looking outside the box a little bit. So I think we're always open to just a good opportunity, and that's what Todd is strong at. Um, Looking at that and seeing if it makes sense to add to our portfolio and with what we have as staff, or do we have the staff to manage it and all of those things. But yes, I think we're good location wise, trying to stay as close to where we're at as possible.
Right. And then in terms, I mean, it is a multi-generational business, started with Ray and now down to Todd. Is there a next generation coming into the company?
I I don't know. We do have a nephew with us in the commercial division, and he just started this year. He's absolutely fantastic, so I wouldn't be surprised. But always welcome. We encourage it. We love the Stone family. They're amazing in all the ways that you can think of. So, and Todd is great. So his knowledge, I've learned a lot just being here and working with him.
Hmm. Okay. And one other thing, and this is just back into the nuts and bolts of the COO role. In terms of, you have to obviously manage the three divisions and all that sort of stuff. Tell me about just the things you have to fill in, like the playbooks and all the procedures and the stuff that makes a business valuable and makes it repeatable and things like that. Are you working on what are the day-to-day sort of 1 year priorities that you have as a COO to build the actual business side of things?
Yeah, streamlining process and procedures. And so because of the background that I have, I've been able to I took a good 6 months when I first started and just kind of learned their processes and procedures, not really making suggestions just yet because I wanted to see what worked for them. I sat on properties, I sat on senior living sites, I acted as a marketing director for 45 days. I just wanted to learn all the ins and outs of how they do things.
Hmm.
And then I wanted to identify where the bottlenecks are. And so we've changed some softwares. And so we've gone from MRI to Yardi, our commercial department, we've changed our payment processing, and a lot of automation has come with that. And so just seeing, what can be automated, what can be helpful for the employees. And the succession planning was a big part of that too, because in going through that process, we created new job descriptions based on the future employee in that position.
Right.
And that helped identify the gap of where our current employee is to where our future employee we would like them to have as far as skill sets and everything else. And then we help the current employee get to that space if there is a gap. Um, so a lot of growth there. So lots of software changes and process improvements and those types of things that have helped the company.
Right. And so it sounds like on the people side, you looked at sort of what the roles you needed, what the functions that you needed in the company, and whether you had the people in them, or if you didn't, what skills you needed, and then you went out and sort of sought that person for the role and filled the key functions in with the team. And with
Yes, or helped that team member get to that place.
Right. So
Yeah.
mentoring and things like that in terms of, and do you have sort of the, mentorship programs in place to, is that a part of your management team sort of quarterly cadence and things like that?
We're creating that right now. So we're in the process of creating our mentorship program. We developed some core values. So the company didn't have set core values. So we developed those and with the RSI letters. So it's respect, synergy, and integrity. And that's something that the team helped create. And so we talked about core values, the importance of core values, and then as a collective team created what those would be, and now we'll implement those in our day-to-day
Right.
as a company.
Yep. And once again, getting the weigh-in from the leadership team and the buy-in and they have a hand in it and they can have part ownership in it. Again, galvanizes them and gets them motivated to come to work in the morning.
Right.
And and did you articulate a why for your company in terms of what is it, your impact on the society and the world?
Oh yeah, yeah, every role. So as we were going through the job descriptions, the person in that job that was doing the work had a say in the job description and helped explain what they did and how it impacted the company. So they're sharing their thoughts on what they do and how it impacts, along with the direction that we want to go in and how it impacts the company as a whole. So it was a very collaborative process. And we then do things that give back, and so we'll work with companies around the community. We have one coming up for the Boys and Girls Club. It's a company-wide event. We're throwing a festival for the boys and girls at the club there, so we try to make our work meaningful as well, um, and allow the companies to partake in that, the employees.
That's great. Now, I also know that you're an author of two books, and uh, do you take your leadership? Are you doing some coaching? Are you helping other organizations grow in the Sacramento area? I know you have a sort of a hobby in it, or I don't know, maybe it's a job that you do, or you volunteer. Is there a side to that that you're working with?
Yeah, I mean the website it's just for people need help. I work with the Women's Empowerment Group, and so I've worked with them with the leadership program. So I developed a curriculum based on the leadership book that I wrote, and so I've helped with them and some other companies if they need help there. The mom dad book was just for my kids, and that actually took off better than I expected. So uh, it's a message there that there's stereotypes associated with everyone, right? I'm sure everyone can identify with some type of stereotype. for me, I was a single mother, and I went and got my PhD just to show them that they didn't have limits. And I've done many talks with people, and I feel my heart is happy with the amount of people that have expressed that their lives have changed after reading the book. And so that was an unexpected success that I had there. The leadership book, I feel it's helped people just kind of be authentic. We don't have to change who we are to be a good leader. You don't have to be a chief operating officer to be a good leader. You could be a good leader in your own right, regardless of the title that you hold. And not everybody desires to manage people. And you could still be a good leader without managing people too.
Right. Just gives them permission that they don't have to change. And being authentic is the best way to express and lead. Totally agree with that. So if we want to get a hold of you, or if we want to learn more about Raystone, what is the best way for people to get a hold of you, Candice, and your company?
My business email here at Raystone would be cburney@raystoneinc.com. My personal email is candicevb21@yahoo.com. And then a website, if anyone needs help with any leadership, is dndstrategicgroup.com.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your joining us here today and talking about the COO role, and we appreciate the audience for listening in. Until next time, we will see you then.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye.